Committee. I am Councillor Paul Wynne, Chairman of the committee. We are not expecting a fire drill today. In the event of an alarm sound, you please leave the building and gather at the front of the building. I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. We'll also ask you to please ensure that mobile phones are switched off. Ensure that the volume on your laptop is muted. To ensure all the members of the committee and all points raised by the public speakers are properly heard, I must advise you that I will not tolerate any disruptive behaviour. This meeting held in public, not a public meeting. If such behaviour takes place and persists, I will adjourn the meeting. Members should ensure that they are present throughout the meeting and should not vote on any item if you have not heard all the debate. And members and officers introduce themselves each time before they speak, so those listening know who is speaking. I shall ask now members of the committee and officers to introduce themselves, starting with Ted, please.
Thank you, Chair. Ted Clark, or Ted Councillor for Basin Hill, okay, and 2 other areas.
Roger Evans, Councillor for the London Division.
David Bankston, Councillor for Fransdale in Shrewsbury.
Gary Bertie, Councillor for Davies Division in Shrewsbury. Steve Davenport, Councillor St Martin's, Dudleston and Dudleston Heath.
Jeff Elmer, Councillor for Ellesmere.
Joyce Barrow, Councillor for St Oswald.
Julian Dean, Councillor for Fort Hill and Shrewsbury.
Have a think at you, the officers, please.
What about me?
Oh, sorry,
Yes.
He always forgets me because I'm vice chair. Vince Hunt,
Yeah.
Councillor to Land Malacan, vice chair, and forgotten.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Councillor Planning and Development Services Manager.
Kelvin Hall, Principal Planning Officer.
Philip Molyneux, Development Manager.
Tim Ward, Committee Officer.
Excellent. Jimmy, can I ask you to go over there, please?
Yes.
Because if you notify to speak, I can't see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying on.
Not the naughty chair, don't worry.
Apologies for absence. Steve Chalmers, substitute by Steve Davenport. Councillor Nat Green, no substitute. Item 2, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on 31st of October 2023 and November 23. Opposed, please. Thank you, Gary. Seconder. Thank you, Vince. Public questions none received. 4, disclosure of pecuniary interests. Has anybody got any? No? Okay. Right. Item 5. Onwards planning application, which is no. Nance Havertons Lane, Newport Road, Woodseeds, Market Lane. Kelvin, you doing this, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for the construction of 2 poultry sheds, feed bins and associated ancillary works on land south of Hollins Lane, Woodseeds near Market Drayton. The application was presented to the North Planning Committee on the 7th of November last year with an officer recommendation that permission be refused. At that meeting, members resolved that the application is deferred to allow further information to be submitted. A further odour report has now been submitted, and details of this will be included in this presentation and also have been set out in the report. Members have visited the site before in relation to other proposals. Before I start, there is a couple of matters that have been added to the schedule of additional letters. The first one is that we've received an updated comment from the Council's Conservation Officer following the submission of plans which show the air scrubbers, and the Conservation Officer has confirmed that the scrubber height is nominal in the overall scheme And as long as they are a finished colour to match the poultry sheds and its setting, then there was nothing further to add to previous comments. In relation to those, I just wanted to clarify the situation in relation to heritage assets. Section 6.4 deals with those matters. This notes that the Conservation Officer considers that the proposal would have a negligible impact upon the setting of relevant heritage assets, and these include the Grade 2 listed Hollings Bridge across the canal cutting to the east and the Shropshire Union Canal Conservation Area. I think it's important just to be clear that the negligible impact is nevertheless an impact. However, it's considered that it falls within the less than substantial category of impact on heritage assets and also on the low end of that scale. It doesn't affect the recommendation to be made. However, it's important to clarify that that negligible impact is nevertheless an impact that needs to be weighed up in the balance in relation to the public benefits that would be provided by the proposal. The second addition is that it's recommended that if permission is granted, it's subject to an additional condition requiring details of the external materials of the proposed buildings and scrubber units to be submitted for approval. So in terms of the slides, these were also shown to members at the November committee last year. But I'll go through them again today as well. So you can see the application site edged in red. This includes the area where the proposed two poultry buildings will be sited, and also an area of landscaping to the north and east and south. And you can see on that slide the location of the canal to the east, which runs in a cutting. The access to the site would be from the west, which goes to the A road in red, and the nearest dwellings you can see to the north, just to the northern side of that plan. Next one, please. This just shows the site and the applicant's landholding in blue. Next one. This shows the existing site with the it shows it as two buildings, but they're actually four buildings which are connected together. And then the building to the north is a biomass boiler building. The proposed sheds are going to be to the located adjacent. Next one. This proposed shows the existing ground levels. It should be noted that some ground levelling works has already taken place at the site to level the land to get the ground levels to the construction level. Next one. And this shows the proposed site plan where the proposed two new buildings will be sited, and shows the proposed landscaping in dark green to the east. This is the elevations and the floor plan. They're standard description for poultry buildings. Will be similar in design and scale to the existing buildings adjacent to them, and the feed bins similarly as well. It's shown on that plan. And this shows the proposed drainage arrangements, which includes reed bed system, drainage channels, and ponds to collect surface water. So there's some photographs as well for to remind members of the site. These are this is the existing track towards the site. The existing buildings. And as I say, some groundworks has taken place, and that's the you see the spoil heaps there from the skimming of material off the site. I think that's it. Yeah. So as you'll see from the slides, the additional sheds will be sited level with the existing ones and set down into the landscape with limited landscape impact. And the proposed landscaping, which includes a construction of bunds around the eastern side and tree planting, would provide landscape benefits in the long term. In terms of drainage and canal matters, the Canal and River Trust have now removed their objection and are happy that detailed matters can now be agreed by planning condition, and that these will prevent impacts on the canal and the stability of the canal cutting. No objection from the highways officer regarding the increase in vehicle movements, and it's considered that the existing access is of a good standard to accommodate this. The proposal proposes air scrubber units on the proposed new buildings and also on 2 of the existing buildings, and this would result in significant reduction in ammonia emissions. Additional mitigation will be provided in the form of the cessation of manure arising from the new buildings would not be spread to farmland. It would be taken to an anaerobic digester, and that would minimise ammonia emissions and also emissions of odour. And the planting of woodland, which would help to capture ammonia from the site as well. The main issue with the application is that of odour emissions and what impact the expanded operation would have on odour levels in the area. The application is subject to a detailed odour impact assessment, which has modelled the likely total odour levels of the existing sheds and the proposed 4 additional ones. You'll note from the report that there have been numerous odour complaints made in relation to the current operation, and the Environment Agency has said that they have investigated these on a small number of occasions, but they have not been able to substantiate any of the complaints. Following the November meeting, an additional sniff testing survey has now been undertaken by the applicant's odour consultant. And the EA consider that its conclusions are similar to their own odour monitoring. In summary, the proposed operation is predicted to increase odour levels at the nearest properties due to the additional bird numbers. However, the modelling predicts that this will be at a level that will be deemed negligible under relevant guidance. The EA advised that they are confident that the existing poultry farm complies with its environmental permit and that it's not causing odour pollution. So in summary, in relation to odour, it's acknowledged that some residents would be expected to experience odour from the site on occasions, but in relation to the current planning application, this is not considered to be unacceptable. Clearly, there's an environmental permit in place and a variation to this would be required, and the Environment Agency would deal with day-to-day matters, including matters relating to emissions, including those of odour. Overall, it's considered that the benefits of the proposal do outweigh the harm, and it's recommended that planning permission is granted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kelvin. We have Parish Council who's got something to be read out by Idris. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Statement from Sutton-on-Tern. Sutton-on-Tern Parish Council continue to object to the proposals. As well as our previous concerns remaining pertinent, we do believe core policy CS6 around safeguarding residential and local amenity needs closer consideration by the committee prior to a decision. There have been and continue to be numerous complaints from residents regarding odour relating to their existing developments. Whilst an odour assessment report has now been produced, there is concern that the minimal testing involved, 4 occasions, does not give the full picture. The report by Dr. Michael Fall highlights various issues, and it seemed that the 4 days when the odour was assessed coincided with days where there was no complaints registered by the Environment Agency. Given the previous level of complaint, we would like to see further testing. The officer report acknowledges that despite the applicant's plans to fit ammonia scrubbers to the 4 new buildings and to 2 of the existing buildings, odour levels will increase. We therefore believe there will be an adverse effect on the residential and local amenity. If the committee is minded to approve the plan, we would like an additional condition to be put in place. Ammonia scrubbers be fitted to all 4 existing buildings as well as new developments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Idris. Right, we have the agent, Nick Williams, speaking. Would like to come forward, please.
Nick, could you pull the microphone towards you a bit?
Yeah.
Because it's away. You have 3 minutes. We have a clock.
Afternoon, members. As you're aware, it was agreed at the November meeting that the application be deferred to allow the applicant to provide additional odour information as officers have requested. 4 odour sniff test surveys were undertaken on and around the site by a technical specialist odour consultant, following industry guidance. A report was subsequently submitted to the council, and following comments from the council's odour consultee and the Environment Agency, the application is now recommended for approval. The odour assessment submitted with the application now comprise the most comprehensive undertaken for a poultry unit development in Shropshire, and it is hoped this provides members with the confidence to support the officer's recommendation. The EA in their latest comments confirmed they are confident that the existing poultry farm complies with its environmental permit and that it is not causing odour pollution. In line with the permit, the poultry site operates in accordance with an approved odour management plan to minimise odour and to ensure odour levels beyond the site boundary are at an acceptable level. The NPPF is clear that the focus of planning decisions should be on whether proposed development is an acceptable use of land, rather than the control of processes and emissions where these are controlled by the permitting regime. Planning decisions should assume that the permitting regime will operate effectively. With this in mind, the Council's odour consultee has confirmed because the EA, as the regulator and statutory consultee, have not raised any odour objections to the proposal, it should be assumed that the impacts of the proposals can be adequately controlled by the permit. While the EA have received odour complaints in the past, these complaints have not been substantiated. If odour complaints are received in the future, then these complaints are substantiated by the EA, the applicant would have to take action to remedy any issues in line with the permit conditions. The proposal includes the installation of scrubber units on the new sheds and 2 of the existing sheds. The scrubbers will reduce odour emitted from these sheds as confirmed by the odour assessment. The poultry units are located over 400 metres from the nearest residential property, in line with EA guidance when siting poultry units. Given the comprehensive odour assessments undertaken, the proposed installation of scrubber units, the insurance of the environmental permit, and the latest comments from the Council's odour consultee and the EA, the officer recommendation should be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Kelvin, would you like to come back on any of the comments made or go straight to what? You okay with that? Just one comment. It said about the parish council comments. The scrubbers are going to be in all 4 units now, so that's what they asked for, which is going to happen.
No.
So, right, okay.
Calvin, speak up now, please.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, in relation to that point, Councillor, the parish council had recommended that permissions granted, then the scrubber unit would be on the existing 4 as well. What is being proposed is that they are on the proposed 4 and 2 of the existing 4. So 6 in total, but they've asked for 8 in total.
Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you. I was misled. Right, up the floor now. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to recommend that we accept the officer's recommendations, but we put an additional condition in that the scrubber units are on all 8 buildings, the 4 new ones and the 4 existing ones. Can we do that or not?
Can you do that, Kelvin?
The application site boundary doesn't extend into the area where you would need the 2 additional scrubber units. The other point, I think, to do that, you would have to justify why, and the reports that we've had, the consultee responses that we've had, don't indicate that that is required to provide an acceptable development.
I withdraw my comments on that because
So you still proposing without that comment, yeah?
no, I can't put it on.
I like feeling with that. Julian?
Yeah, just a couple of points really. First of all, just in response to the applicant's comments saying this is the most comprehensive odour assessment that we've ever had. Perhaps that, you did have to have another go at it just to make that point. I don't think that's necessarily something to be proud of. But the committee did have to ask for that to be redone. So just pointing that out. The other thing is so we're being told that we can't make a decision based on whether or not the permit control process is adequate, and I do understand that, but I just wonder if officers have any comments or if we have any information as to whether the permit control regime, if you like, in the county is operating effectively when it comes to property units.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair. The MPPF is clear. Paragraph 194 states that I'll read it out. The focus of planning policies and decisions should be on whether proposed development is an acceptable use of land rather than the control of processes or emissions, where these are subject to separate pollution control regimes, which is the case here. Planning decisions should assume that these regimes will operate effectively. So it's not for the planning authority today to second guess whether or not that regime operates effectively, because the advice from the MPPF is that we should assume that it does operate effectively. So we should assume that the environmental permitting regime is fit for purpose.
Okay, Vince.
Thank you. Of course, that's for the EA to decide, not for us on the planning committee or planning officers. They're responsible for the, correct me if I'm wrong, they're responsible for the conditions, and they've made it very clear that they are satisfied with the management plan that has been put into place. There's always a chance that it might not be good enough, but again, that's for the EA to take action on, and not for us as planning. We have to look at the buildings and the proposal. I'm not going to. I think these scrubbers are capable of reducing up to 40% of the odour emissions. Obviously, we've heard that despite the parishes council's request that an extra 2 are put in, they can't be put in because the land is not in the ownership of the applicant. My understanding is they come out around 100,000 each, so I wouldn't impose that upon them anyway, because we've got no right to do that, because the EA have said that what the proposal is and what's there is sufficient. So I do agree with Julian's comments. However, I'd also like to say that the applicant did go away and has put it together as we'd requested to do. And so whilst one is not so good, the other one is good. And thank you for listening. I'm quite happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Vince. Yes, Garvey.
Sorry, could I just clarify something that Councillor Hunt's just said? I think you've mentioned about land ownership. The scrubber units would be within the ownership, but not within the red line, not within the application site boundary. So we would need another a revision to the red line.
Just come back, Chair.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you for correcting me on that. Nevertheless, it's not in the application site, but the EA have not said that it's needed, and I think because of the cost of these things, if the EA don't think they need it and they're responsible for it, then I don't think we should impose that upon them. We couldn't defend it if we did.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Kerry. Yeah, it's second. Thank you, David.
Yeah, just coming. Sorry, just coming back on the supplementary report about the impact of the scrubber heights. And I think the officer made clear that there's a balance to be had there between the impact on the heritage assets as opposed to the public benefits of the proposal. And my feeling here, I'm increasingly concerned about the number of chicken sheds that are all over the place, and I do have great concern about that. And I would say that the damage to heritage assets does not balance out the public benefits. I don't think there is a great public benefit from having so many chicken sheds throughout the county, and I would therefore like to oppose the proposal.
So
on the grounds that the harm to the heritage assets, which is being affected by the height of the scrubbers, does not outweigh the public benefit of the proposal.
Are you aware of the heritage asset?
Yes.
David, did you go on site visit when we had it last time?
No, I did not.
Right, shame, because it will explain a lot if you were there, but anyway. Okay, so we have a proposer against. Do we have a second for that?
Well, no, you surely just.
Or do we do the first one first?
You do.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah, happy with that? Any more comments?
It's still on David.
No more comments. We'll go to a roll call vote, shall we? Yep, please.
The proposal which has been seconded to agree with officers and recommendation to grant planning permission that's subject to the additional condition as set out in the schedule of additional letters as stated by Calvin at the start of his presentation. Please can you confirm whether you're for or against the proposal? Joyce Sparrow?
For.
Gary Birchett?
For.
Jeff Fellner? For. Ted Clark? For. Steve Davenport?
For.
Julian Dean?
Against.
Roger Evans?
Against.
Vince Hunt?
For.
David Wasmer?
Against.
Allwyn?
For.
7-4.
Thank you. That has gone through the officer's recommendation. So we'll move on to item 6, which is Ideal Home, Victon Heath House, Knowsley Drive. I think Calvin, that's you again.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for the proposed demolition of an existing care home wing and the proposed new build care home wing at Victon Heath House, Knowsley Drive, Victon Heath in Shrewsbury. The application is a resubmission following the refusal of a differently designed scheme last year under delegated powers. Members visited the site this morning and viewed the existing property and the grounds from the front and from the rear gardens as well, and also the existing surrounding land. In terms of location, shown on the slide, you see the red dot. It's in the Gaines Park area of Shrewsbury. The inset map on the top right there shows in blue the extent of the care home grounds. There are two parts to it, as you can see. There's the southern wing, which will be retained, and then there's the northern wing, which is in like an orangey colour, which would be demolished to make way for the proposed new care home wing. Next slide. This is a slide showing the existing grounds again. The part of the northern wing to be demolished, as set out in the report, is a mid-19th century villa, and it's considered to be a non-designated heritage asset by our conservation officer. The demolition would also include the demolition of that and also other elements of the scheme, which are more modern buildings, particularly the western wing, which is at the top right-hand side of that plan there. Next one. Again, this is the demolition plan, which shows the extent of buildings to be demolished from the site in the orangey colour. Next one. And this is the site plan of the proposed building. It shows the new build on the right-hand side, and then also on the left-hand side, the existing buildings that members saw today, which are being retained. Also, the car parking proposed as well on the right-hand side of that plan. Next one. These are the existing elevations. The top one is the front of the building as you come into the site. And there's the side elevations below that, and then the south elevation. Next slide. More elevations. Next one. This is the proposed ground floor plan, which shows in green the proposed bedrooms. Each of those would have ensuite, communal areas in yellow, and the staff rooms in blue. Next one. This is the first floor plan, again, same colour notation, showing the ensuite rooms in green. Next one. This is the roof plan. It proposes a series of pitched roofs and mansard roofs and flat roofs. The flat roofs would be single story, grassed, covered. Next one. This shows the site sections, and on the bottom in particular, it shows the proposed building laid on top of the existing building, so that you can see a comparison of the scale of the building compared to existing, which is comparable. It's higher in some parts and lower in other parts, but generally the footprint is slightly larger, but similar to the existing building. Next one. Ignore the pictures on the top right of this because they are of a different property, but the other ones are the proposed elevations and the 3D views on the right hand side, bottom right hand side. It like I say, it includes pitched roofs, which is in line with the existing building, brick materials in keeping with the surrounding residential properties. Includes first floor terraces that you can see on the top and the third elevation. On the bottom one, this is the elevation which faces the nearest dwellings to the west. You can see, well, you might not be able to see very clearly, but the windows on the left hand side of that are obscure glazed to protect privacy between the care home and the dwellings. Next one. And this shows the existing sites and the proposed site. Comparison of the outdoors open space in green, which is comparable, slightly less under the proposed scheme than existing, but with the addition of, like I say, the terrace areas in the proposed building to provide additional amenity space. And it also shows the distances as well between the nearest properties, and window to window would be about 20 metres. This shows a landscaping plan. There's 4 trees to be removed. There's 2 category B trees, 1 to be removed. The members were pointed out in the car park corner, and then another tree in the garden, and then 2 smaller trees as well, which are category C trees. In compensation for that, 9 trees are being proposed. 1 of them would be in the car park, and then 3 also along the side of the property adjacent to the dwellings, and then 5 more around the site. This is the drainage layout proposed, the surface water drainage layout. The foul water drainage. And then there's just some photographs here that members would have seen the property this morning. These are the elements of the existing care home which would be demolished. This is the elevation to the east, showing on the right hand side the existing care home which would demolish. The building on the left hand side, you can see the more modern addition, and that will be retained. And then these are some views of the western side, so you can see the proximity of the existing care home compared to the existing houses. A picture of the garden area, with the tree on the right hand side will be removed, as would the smaller trees on the left.
And just for comparison, I mentioned that it's a resubmission. This was the design of the proposal, which was refused under delegated powers for a number of reasons, and that was the what was put forward at that time. So, in terms of the officer's assessment, the proposal would, in the view of officers, significantly improve the standard of the accommodation that will be provided. It's considered to be, don't know whether you want to move back a slide to show. It's considered to be an acceptable design, which is significantly more sympathetic to the surroundings than the previous one. It takes into account the need to maintain an appropriate level of open space for the nature of the care home, and also to protect the amenity of the surrounding residents. It's considered that the removal of the trees, although unfortunate, can be satisfactorily compensated for in the longer term through replacements. The parking levels would be increased by 5 over and above existing levels, and the transport assessment suggests that the proposal itself would generate the need for an additional 1 or 2 additional parking spaces, so there would be a net gain over and above what is required. As mentioned, the original building, or part of the building to be demolished, is a mid-19th century building. Its loss is a negative part of the scheme, but it's considered that its significance is limited, and on balance it's considered that this is outweighed by the public benefits of the redevelopment of part of the care home, and therefore it's recommended that planning permission is granted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kelvin. We have a comment made by a local member and the agent's here to speak. So Idris, we'd like to read out Alex Wagner's comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. My objection as laid out still stands. The proposal to demolish most of the existing building will result in harm to an important heritage asset in the Bicton Heath area. Though other plans have been looked at, I do not think they are sufficient. It is positive to see the party wall will remain in situ and made good, and that the building has been moved further from the boundary. But the impact on the residential area at the northern side of the building is still a source of great concern for Knowsley Drive residents.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we have the agent, Louise Wood. Would you like to come forward, please? You have 3 minutes. We won't start until he starts thinking. Don't worry. Box there in front of you to advise you time, okay?
Good afternoon, members, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Firstly, I'd like to fully endorse the officer's report and its professional recommendations to approve the application. As you're aware, it's a brief submission of a previously refused scheme, and we've worked hard to provide the proposal to the now acceptable scheme, addressing the previous reason for refusal, introducing improves, reducing the overall massing, and the reconfiguration of the car park, providing an additional 5 spaces. Care attention has also been given to ensure that there's no loss of privacy resulting from overlooking to the neighbours. Whilst it's regrettable that the existing building will be demolished, it's important to note that it's not a designated heritage asset, and has been found to have low significance owing to piecemeal alterations and extensions over the years to meet the ever-changing needs of the care home, which the Council Conservation Officers agreed with. However, we think there's significant public benefits resulting from the proposal which outweigh the loss and the harm to the loss of the building. The current part of the home for demolition looks after adults with mental health conditions, but it doesn't give residents a whole line home. As their needs increase and mobility is decreased, they ultimately need to be moved to another home due to the uneven floors, narrow corridors, multiple ramps, and stepped access to some of the bedrooms. There's no lift access to the first floor either, and they have to rely on a stair lift, which kind of reduces the mobility around the farm itself. The proposals would improve the long-term amenity of the residents and provide a quite large beach floor with external terraces and bedrooms and balconies, as well as larger bedrooms, ensuring that they have enough sufficient private amenity space and well proportioned windows and a good outlook from the bed itself, which is considered to be an improvement of the existing situation. There's also replacement tree planting with 9 trees proposed to replace before that were removed. The proposals will also provide a better working environment for carers, long-term job security, long-term bed spaces for the local authority. The applicant has a vast experience in running care homes up and down the country and continually seeks to invest and improve on their homes. As demonstrated by the planning history on site, the applicant has tried to achieve these improvements through extensions, reconfigurations, but owing to the existing and haphazard levels of the building, it's not possible to create an entirely step-free environment which limits the accessibility of the floors of the care home. It's therefore considered not to be feasible to bring the building up to current building regulation standards through extensions and retrofitting alone, and the proposals to demolish the building have come as a last resort. Is therefore considered in the planning balance that the significant public benefits which arise from the development would outweigh the loss of the non-designated territory assets. And the applicant is willing to accept a conditional sign of full building required to take place prior to demolition in line with conservation.
You practiced that, Louise, obviously. You've got 2 seconds left. I've never known anyone get 10 minutes. 3 minutes. I think you took most of that in, Louise. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'd like to make any comments about the speakers or straightforward? Okay, I've got a couple of names down already. But I put my name down first. So I'd just like to point out a good sign was this morning. I thought the building is not suited for purpose. We walked the building, no en suites or not all en suites, not suitable at all. It needs a new building to suit the purpose of the job, in my opinion. But Joyce.
Yeah. On approaching the building this morning, I thought, wow, that looks really good. And I thought, you can't get rid of it. Just driving up to it, it looks very impressive. And actually the photographs on a beautiful sunny day look really good, but it doesn't actually represent what is actually there when you're there. That's why site visits are so important, in my opinion. I think it's quite drab. It obviously would need an awful lot of money on it to do anything with the front of it. There's no real merit in it, in my opinion. I think it would improve the quality of life to build the bit on the back for the residents and the workers. It's not in a good state, and in fact I would say that it's a bit depressing. So I shall certainly be voting for this application. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I also thought it was a very good site meeting. And I echo what Joyce has just said, that the building would be much better used, much better standard of life for everybody. I got 2 questions. One is, do we know what's going to happen to the residents when building work is underway? And 2, I couldn't see any solar panels and things like that. We're talking about a modern building and making it efficient. Is that possible to request that such things are fitted at the beginning rather than retrofit? And if that happens, I'd like to propose the exception, because I do think this building is not suitable in the existing state. Can we have some answers on those questions, please?
On the first question, I don't know the answer to what will happen to the residents during the build programme. I don't think it's necessarily relevant to the.
It's not a planning application.
No, I realise
it's not a planning thing.
Yeah,
but it'd be nice to know.
Yeah. On the second point, unfortunately, I mean, you've seen the designs of the previously refused one, and that had quite a few solar panels on it. However, probably officers' view anyway, that the design wasn't acceptable, and that had a lot more flat roofs on it. Whereas this one, it seems to be a better, more synthetic design,
but less opportunity for solar panels. I think there would be opportunity. There are some flat roofs being proposed on this particular one, so there is the opportunity for, but much smaller, expansive roof slope for solar panels.
Yeah, thank you. I just obviously like the building to be as eco-friendly as possible. Thank you.
Julian.
Thank you. Councillor Elmer sort of asked my first question, so but I will follow it up. So because I do think I would welcome seeing in these reports a little bit of detail on energy efficiency, not just solar, but what their heating system is going to be, and all those sorts of questions. So I'd be interested to. I had a quick look and I couldn't find anything, so I'm interested in that. And although you're right, there's not much flat, there is quite a lot of west-facing slope roofs, so I would have thought those would be suitable. My other question is with regard, my general thought, by the way, after the site visit is also that realistically this probably can't be retrofitted, and so I'm likely to support this. But there's a comment from the trees officer, which is perhaps not that helpful. It says that said, there is no reason not to use this type of foundation, which is to do with, I think, ways of allowing for new planting, and we could probably require these details through a condition. Now, it would have been nice to have had a slightly more precise form of words from the tree officer, but has that been taken into account? Do we have a condition which supports that comment from the tree officer? Thanks.
Yeah, condition number 6 refers to the requirement to submit a method statement for building work to include details of foundation design and installation method. And then there's also a tree protection condition there as well. And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And sorry, on the energy efficiency, do we know anything about the heating system?
Well, energy, I mean, there isn't in the report. However, the building would have to meet current building regulations, and there's a limit to under planning where the guidance that we have is that we shouldn't be requiring anything which is in excess of the building regulations requirements.
Which is pretty standard. Gary?
Thank you, Chair. Just a query on the opening titles. It says demolition of existing care home wing. It's the main building, it's not the wing. They're demolishing the main building. So why is it described in the application as a wing? Is that to try and distract us from the substantial demolition of the building? Yeah. That's the first point. The wing is being retained at the back. The main building is being demolished, not the wing. Okay. That's the first point. And the second point, just on what you said, Calvin, about the condition 6 about protecting the tree roots. If that's now a standard condition, how come we're not allowing more applications to protect tree roots with better foundations designed to protect them? So we can have houses built slightly closer to heritage assets, perhaps. So just an observation.
Well, in an ideal world, you wouldn't want a new building to be built close to trees, because you would want the tree not to be impacted by, when it grows. But also a more specialist foundation design is obviously more expensive, and so you wouldn't want to impose that unless there was a specific need for it.
Okay, just
the wing, I don't know. I would argue that you could argue that it's a northern wing and a southern wing. It just differentiates between two different elements of the other thing. The southern wing is generally occupied by the elderly occupants, and then the northern wing is by the younger adults with the mental health, and maybe that's where the wings come from. It's just separated out internally.
I think we accept what you're saying. It is the key part of the building, but no doubt, as far as they run different sections, they are probably called different wings. But I appreciate what you're saying. I would call it the key elevation as well. It is the main part as you drive in, as Joyce pointed out.
Like I'm after the second Joyce's proposal.
Joyce hasn't proposed. Did
No,
you
it was
propose
it was
Nobody's proposed then.
I thought Jeff proposed.
No?
I thought Jeff proposed.
I did propose, sorry.
So I'll second Jeff's proposal.
Right, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the units of the others that have spoken. This is a particular case where the site visit was very invaluable. The actual approach to the frontage does make one realise it's quite an impressive building in its way, and an attractive building it has been. It's been allowed to deteriorate a little bit, but nonetheless, it's still attractive enough in my view to merit being retained. I also, yeah, Councillor, which is something I don't do very often, Councillor Burgett's comments about the slight creative efforts to call the annex at the back the main building, which I think is, as I say, very creative. I mean, I would like to propose that so on the basis that it is a non-designated asset, that we should, the heritage asset, that it should be retained at all costs. It'll be a real loss to the area if that goes, I think, having seen it.
Roger.
I wanted to listen to the on balance before I came in and listened to it. I was against the proposal, and listening to it now, and I have visited the site before, so I do know the site. Although I didn't come on the site visit, I am against the proposal as it is. And I do note in the comments made by officers, the current proposal would result in a complete loss of the heritage significance of the former villa. However, the submitted heritage statement assesses this as heritage as low heritage significance. This is the second report we've had where the heritage is termed as low value in relation to the public good, public perception. I think we have it wrong. I think that building is important to the area. It is a feature in that area, and as has just been said, part of the building is used by the elderly, part by the mentally who need mental help, and I think we can use that, or that building could be made better use of by appropriately residents that were in it. And I cannot see any justification really for taking it down and putting up a new modern or seen or being building in its place. It will be a loss. And I do note the 7.3 and 7.4 in the report by the officer.
I hear what Kevin yourself is saying, but once you go into the building, it is definitely not fit for purpose. Corridors are very narrow, head height 6 foot only. It's not fit for purpose. The corridors are very tight, whereas in nursing homes they're normally wide, so you get wheelchairs through, etc. In my opinion, I understand where you're coming from, the heritage part. I totally understand, but it's not. It doesn't have that much value. And what's going on in the second one, the new plans, which is more in keeping with the pitched roofs rather than the flat roof, which look dreadful in my opinion. I can see why that was refused. Yeah, but Steve.
Well, as somebody said earlier, I wasn't going to comment on this one, but it was a perfect example of a good site visit. It's an old building, absolutely, but it just isn't fit for purpose. The corridors are too small, they're too tight. Like you said, there's no en suites; they're all separate bathrooms. It's the brick is not of a good quality. It does need replacing, and I will propose it, second it, and agree with it.
Joyce?
Just one query. In 4.1.6, the drainage people say they're asking for a minor amendment to the layout to include a linear drainage channel. Is that actually conditioned over? I missed it. Is that in the condition?
Yeah.
It is there. That's fine.
Yes, please.
Just wanted to check. Thank you.
For, yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
Right, we've had no more proposed and seconded. We have no more comments. We shall go to the vote. Roll call again, please.
Please can you indicate whether you're for or against the motion, which is to grant planning permission in accordance with officer's recommendation? Joyce Barrow?
For.
Gary Blitchett?
For.
Jeff Alner?
For.
Ted Clark?
Against?
Steve Davenport?
For.
Julian Dean?
For.
Roger Evans?
Against.
David Wesmer?
For.
Vince Hunt?
For.
Foregate.
4. So that's gone through. 2 against. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8, 4. So now we'll move on to the next item. So that's item 7, the Belvedere. Philip, you're presenting this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Right, this application proposes, can we have this slide up, please? This application proposes demolition of an existing public house and the construction of 9 dwellings consisting of 2 and 3 bedroom residential development with vehicle and pedestrian access on the site of the former Belvedere Public House, Foregate Road in Shrewsbury here. Members will recall the site having made a visit to it earlier this morning. There are no updates on the update sheet. And I'll run through the plans. First slide, please. Location plan with the site outlined in red. You'll see towards the top of the screen. Right. There where the cursor is now. That the cursor is on the building and the red line goes around the side.
Must have been taken on a foggy day.
Indeed. The proposal site plan indicates a layout for 9 dwellings. 6 of these are semi-detached and 3 detached. You could be forgiven looking at that there's 8 semi-detached and 1 detached. I accept, but in the top right-hand side of the site, the 2 there have a narrow slither of land between them, which actually does make them therefore detached. The one obviously with the large garden. This slide indicates the proposed elevations. A mixture of 2 and 3 bedroom houses, all meet the minimum space standards with regards internal floor space. Next slide. Photograph of the public house, which is considered a building of no historic importance and certainly not considered an undesignated heritage asset. Next slide, please. Another one more close up of the building. It hasn't been in use for a public house for a number of years now, and members will observe the vandalism that's taking place in the site there with the broken glass from the windows and the general upkeep of the property itself and the land in which it sits on. Next slide, please. That's to the rear of the site, backing on to the Belvedere School, which of course is also under construction for a replacement school to the back of that. Next slide, please. The space to the rear. I think, yeah, that can, you can see the construction of the new school to the side. To the is it the existing school? Can I go back? That's yeah, sorry, I'm getting. Yeah, that's the existing school. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then the new school that is going on behind that. Yeah, on the existing playing field. Next slide, please. Nearest dwelling to the site, to the one side, with the school in the background. And that's that final slide showing the surrounding built environment, which is mainly of semi-detached dwellings and offices considered comparable in scale to that as proposed. And there another slide again of existing. Members will be clearly aware that this represents a brownfield site in a location where residential development in principle is considered acceptable. The existing structure on site is not considered to be of any historic merit. And as I've indicated, a public house ceased on site several years ago. And Whistle could be considered formally a local community asset. The site is located in an urban area with other facilities, and its loss as a former community asset is considered acceptable. Details on this aspect are covered in section 6.1 of the Officer report. Application proposes 9 marshy unencumbered dwellings, consisting of 5 3-bedroom dwellings and 4 2-bedroom dwellings, with access to the frontages direct off Cromia Road in a cul-de-sac formation as indicated on the site layout plan. Density of the environment is considered acceptable in relation to the surrounding residential environment. And as I also indicated, floor areas of the dwellings all comply with recognised minimum space standards. Residential amenity issues in relation to the proposed dwellings considered acceptable and to the surrounding built environment. As indicated earlier, access to all the dwellings is via a new road into the site directly off Cromia Road. Each dwelling will be provided with 2 off-road parking spaces, and it is noted that 2 of the dwellings also have a single bay garage. Bin storage areas are given satisfactory consideration to the front of the site. An amended plan has come in and that matter is now adequately addressed. And one further thing on access, Whistle, as pointed out to you on site this morning, the plans indicate the road to an adoptable standard. Our highways do not consider it is to an adoptable standard, but however, nevertheless, they are not raising any objections to this application. Ecological issues on site considered acceptable, as set out in section 6.5 of the report, along with drainage matters as set out in paragraph 6.6 of the report, as both Severn Trent and our drainage raised no objections to the application, subject to a condition which is included in the list of suggested conditions in Appendix 1. While the concerns of the local member and objections from the Town Council as set out in the report are noted, it is considered in conclusion that on balance, this proposal is considered acceptable and makes efficient use of a brownfield site in a sustainable location for the development as proposed, and with no adverse concerns from any of the statutory consultees as set out in the report. The recommendation is one of approval, subject to conditions as set out in Appendix 1 attached to the report. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes my presentation on this application.
Thank you, Philip. We do have a speech and we have before that, Roger would like to make a comment.
Question, if I can, of the officer. I see planning permission was granted in September 2019. Yes. Does that mean that that is still in force now, as it's nearly just over 4 years since it was originally granted?
It's lapsed.
Lapsed. It has lapsed. I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah,
I didn't pick that up in the report, Chairman.
I understand. No problem. No, I understand it's lapsed.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You've got people to speak. Do you want to speak now?
No, it's just a point of clarification from the officer.
Yeah.
Do we have anywhere that you can put up the amended plan for the bins for the
bins? Yeah.
Election.
Plan. There you go. Front as you come in, right and left of the front. Okay.
Just that bit look like dominoes.
Where the thingamajig is now.
So they'd be emptied off the refuse truck and draw alongside on the main drag and collect them from there.
Yeah. This is a matter that was raised by the local member. And I believe she's happy now with.
Okay. No, that's.
If we can leave that up, please, Tim, as it is now, and then we'll do that. Okay. Right. So we have Pam Mosley, soon to be read out. Please.
Thank you, Chair. As the member for the Monkmoor Division, I've made comment on the planning application for the redevelopment of the Belvedere public house site on Cromia Road, and my comments are included within the report, so I will not repeat those in full. Firstly, I welcome the redevelopment of this site in principle, as it has, since it closed some years ago, become something of an eyesore, and also the focus of some antisocial behaviour. I am pleased that the applicant has taken on board the issue of bin storage and provided areas to the front of the site for collection days and improved the visibility displays. I remain of the view that this proposal would be better with at least 2 fewer houses. Despite the case officer suggested comparators, the previous consent was for 7 houses, which I feel was the maximum to sit comfortably within the site and which will be more in character with the area. However, as the recommendation before you is to approve this application, I would like to make the following points. Although the applicant had wanted the council to adopt the access road, SC Highways stated that this will not be possible as the road is not considered suitable for adoption. As such, the issue of street light into the cul-de-sac should be considered. Several neighbours in their comments have voiced their concerns about the sewerage system in the immediate area, including the flooding of a garden, although neither Seventry Water nor Shropshire Council Drainage have made explicit reference to this in their comments. I would have liked to have seen more exploration of this issue. I am pleased to see that Condition 8 requires that plans for hard and soft landscaping, including fencing, must be approved before any above ground works commence. And ask that special consideration to be given to the boundary treatment to the Crowmere Road frontage alongside the front two houses. This should be high quality and of durable materials, as it is a very visible site and should afford a good level of privacy to those two house plots. Lastly, I would like to stress the importance of a detailed construction method statement for the site. This is a busy road having a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit and yellow zigzags outside the school, and with a bus route and bus stop very close to the site. Belvedere School, with over 800 students, plus staff and visitors, creates a high volume of traffic, vehicle, cycle and pedestrian at the start and end of the school day, and it is critical that these times are avoided for site traffic, especially deliveries. Construction worker traffic should also be managed so as to avoid nuisance to neighbouring residents, and similarly, hours of work should be strictly defined. The construction method statement could be especially important here should development coincide with the demolition of the existing Belvedere School buildings, which will commence later in 2024.
Thank you. Okay, we have the applicant, David Knight. I'd like to come forward, please. You have 3 minutes, David, when clock's up and start speaking.
Like mastermind there. I press this button on the right.
Yeah, do clock. The light comes up. That's
okay. Good afternoon. I'm David Knight, and I represent MW Knight & Sons, the applicant and the developer. We're a small local builder, and part of our work focuses on providing quality entry-level homes for first-time buyers and retirees in and around Shrewsbury. It's exceedingly important to me that we build well and leave a legacy of good design and functionality to be enjoyed by our customers. Many of you will have visited the site earlier today and actually witnessed the state of Belvedere. It's already been covered in the report. It's very dilapidated and it needs to be demolished really as soon as possible. We constantly board it up and it constantly gets vandalised, and it's a cause of concern to all of us, really. The reason I mention this is that when we purchased the site, it came with planning permission. But this, has been pointed out, has now expired, mainly due to the knock-on effects of the pandemic. And in any event, we'd intended to revise the original consent as we felt the scheme was lacking in several areas, mainly of functionality and aesthetics. But there are objections, most of those have been covered. The main one being the site is too small for 9 houses. Although Section 6 of the Case Officer report disagreed with this, it is probably unbeknownst to the authority that the previous consent unfortunately produced a scheme that didn't actually work. There was no level access provision to any of the houses and a substandard depth of parking. As a result, it was necessary to reduce the depth of the houses, and the houses need to be kept in proportion. They then became smaller, i.e. because we had to bring them in that way, we had to bring them in sideways as well. And that then provided more land, which meant that we could put 2 further homes on, actually vitally needed, affordable, smaller homes. They all exceed the national minimum space standards, as has been said, and there is negligible change in the overall built footprint on the site. It's less than 2 square metres overall. It provides a greater variety of properties with a far better aesthetic. I think the other points that I've actually written down here have been dealt with. One about, I think Councillor Mosey brought up about the fact she didn't like the site being built at 90 degrees, but that was a previous approval anyway. The bin store issue has been dealt with as well. There was comments about the heights of walls and boundaries. That's all been dealt with, and we amended the plans to satisfy the planning authority and the one neighbour. The VAT survey has been dealt with, and the ecologist is now happy with our proposals. There was no evidence of bats. And there's some comments about the drains. Obviously, we're concerned about that as well, but this is a Severn Trent issue, and it's within their remit to resolve any problems, and it's their legal duty to do so. I'm sure it will be done. We've given considerable time and thought to this scheme, and we like to think it's good, balanced, sustainable, and a well thought out proposal, providing vitally needed homes on the brownfield site. There are no objections to development from any of the local residents, other than the comments on the drains. This has been recommended for approval. I hope you'll support it too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I think you put the points there very well. Use the slides up.
Oh, sorry. Is that the right hand or left?
Yeah, right.
Left hand one.
Oh, that's the one. Thanks very much. Thank you. So if you'd like to make any comments on the comments being made?
Not at this stage. I'd like to hear your members soon.
I'll open the floor to indicated Vince.
Okay. I'm reading this one very interesting. As we've heard and Roger asked the questions, the previous consent has expired. But I don't think there's an inspector in the land that wouldn't say we already determined that, you know, it was a brownfield site suitable for housing. Something does need to be done about this. I wasn't on the site visit this morning, but I have driven past there before now and noticed that another star in the universe went out when the pub was closed. I also note from the papers that the increase is 2 bedrooms. I know that's caused a little bit of concern, and we've heard from the agent that the actual square meterage is only going up by 2. I had a quick peek at the original application, and I think they're chalk and cheese. I think this one's a lot better. I welcome the fact that there are a number of 2-bedroom premises as opposed to you being 3. I like that sort of mix. I think that's good for people looking to get starter homes, people with young families. I am going to support this. Because I was on the site visit, I'm not going to propose it until I've heard from some of my colleagues that were. But I'm more than happy with this, I have to say.
Thank you, Vince. Just one comment from me is, until you get on site and walk around the site, you can't appreciate how big the site is. You take that building away, it does stretch a long way from corner to corner. Anyway, Julie.
Thank you. I'm minded to support this. I just wanted to pursue the issue of the sewage. Shropshire Council some months ago adopted a policy where we asked planning officers to ask Severn Trent to comment on cumulative effect of development like this. We know that we have to assume that they're going to deal with it, but I just ask what did we do that, and what sort of response did we get?
Yep.
I can ask that. But as set out in paragraph 6.61, Severn Trent were consulted on the application and they've raised no objections to the proposal subject to drainage condition. And as indicated during my presentation, that compares with our drainage people. They both come back with the same response. We have included a condition to ensure that it is satisfactory prior to development on the site. And you'll see in Appendix 1, condition number right, and so they've recommended the condition, but I'm having difficulty finding it. Condition number 7. Yes, sorry, it is condition number 7. That is the recommended condition by both Severn Trent and our drainage.
Thanks. Can we come back to it? Julian, just while we're on that subject.
Thank you. Yeah, just to pursue the question. So I understand that they raised no objection. That's what they always do. Are we specifically now asking them about the cumulative effect as we agreed at council? And did they comment on that?
Oh, I wouldn't say we've asked specifically, but I should hope as a drainage consultant, they would take that into consideration in any case.
So can I pursue the fact that we as council agreed that we would ask planning officers to ask specifically about the cumulative effect on the sewage system from development? It was a council policy some months ago, and we should now be asking that as a question. So can I have that noted, please, that we pursue that matter?
Do you have that noted, please?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll note it.
For the future.
Yes, I'll note it, but
I think they would anyway, but I see where you're coming from. Yeah. Hang on. Okay, right.
Yeah, I noted it and we will look into it.
Right, choice.
My only concern at the site was over development, because when we got there, it didn't look very large, but actually a huge piece of ground. So it put my mind at rest, and I think it will improve and tidy up the street thing. So I will be supporting this.
Right. Hey. All right.
We have accept the officer's proposal and we approve the plan.
Even quiet. You got to come in now? No. Okay, Tess.
Thank you, Chair. excuse me for being flipped, but it's that time of the afternoon, isn't it? I knew a couple of people that used to bide there in the far off days, and I was told by them that it is actually a heritage asset. You know, don't take it for sale. It was even suggested that part of that was some of the soldiers up there, but I've not had that confirmed already.
You don't remember?
No.
They can step. Oh dear. Right, we have a proposed. You have a second there. Thank you, Steve. Any more comments? Okay, we'll go to a vote. We better go to a roll call vote again. Please.
Thank you, Chair. We have a proposal to grant planning permission in accordance with the officer's recommendation. Please, can you indicate whether you're for or against that proposal? Joyce Barrow?
For.
Gary Burchett?
For.
Jeff Alner?
For.
Ed Clark?
For.
Steve Davenport?
For.
Julian Dean? For. Roger Evans?
For.
David Rasman?
For.
James Hunt?
For.
Paul Wing?
Unanimous, yes, for. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go on to the next item, which is. Yes, of course. Here we go. Appeal decisions. Philip, would you like to begin comments on?
Well, we haven't had a didn't have a committee last month, so there's quite a number here. You'll see there's quite a number of officers we have determined as set out on the schedule. The appeal decisions, well, they're all there for you to read, and I've nothing further to add to set out. There's quite a number there. There's two for care homes up in Market Drayton, both dismissed, which I've made an interesting read, but I'll leave you to go.
Well, any comments on the appeals now?
Yeah. The query in one of the appeals in the that went with it, there was mention of the H as a representative for the appellant. Am I correct in thinking that was former chief executive of Shrewsbury and Acton Borough Council, Robin Hooper?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes, he was acting as agent for in the public inquiry in Shrewsbury. Yes. Okay. That appeal decision is a very interesting read.
It is an interesting one. He isn't employed by Berries at all.
Not my knowledge. I believe he has his own planning consultancy.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Did you read all the papers, Ted?
Sorry?
Yeah, he read that one. You know, it's just a big one.
Okay. Right, date of next meeting is Thursday, the 15th of February. I know we're going to get some changes on here. Hopefully, we'll have the same committee as we had for the first one for Relief Road. I think everybody's available. So we'll see you week on Thursday. Okay. Thank you.